I actually see quite a bit of things that are power leaks. I think that if we were looking from the third base view, we would see that at the top, he's got, well, first of all, let's just start with this. A, the weight's on his toe instead of on his heel. B, his eyes should be on his target right now because everything that we do is gauged off of that line. We can't recreate, we can't back chain from our release if we're not looking at the target ultimately. So that's the starting part. The second part is it looks like he's striding towards the target from the top of his leg lift, basically. Now, we talked about this a little bit, and I'm not opposed to the stride happening from somewhere midway down, somewhere in here, out toward the target, so that we can keep a nice high left hip and then work it from high to low from here and like so, down and back behind us. But what you're seeing is the leg, if we're looking from the third base perspective, the legs, the top of the leg lift would never be stacked over one another. Like these the shin should be kind of stacked over the top of one another. And the hands should be breaking behind the rubber. Okay, they need to be back here, more like by his ear to promote more counter rotation and more closure at the top because we're getting this toe is already pointing toward third base right now. Now, I do love the glove hand. I think we could manage to get the tricep facing the sky more. And we want, like I said earlier, the hands breaking more behind the rubber. And then I'd like to see them track this right humerus be more closed. Okay, it needs the elbow, front elbow needs to be more aligned with this back throwing shoulder. Instead of out here in front of it, it needs to be back in here somewhere. Align more over that to promote closure longer. And then try to turn that tricep up and see it working out the slot. And then from there down the inside of the line. Okay, now I love how he pulls it down and keeps it inside. He's not overactive with it. So it's all good. All this stuff is great. As far as what he's feeling later on, nothing is wrong with his feel. He could also manage to have a little bit more when he gets in here. I think that he could manage to be a little bit further inside 90 degrees, maybe more toward like 75 or so, because you'll see that he's limiting his layback because of that. Okay, we can't really get that whip, that doubling back action the same way. And I'm just assuming this because I don't have that angle from third base. But I can see here, we have pretty much 90 degrees, it looks like in there. And maybe even, it might be slightly outside. I would like to see, if we were looking from the third base perspective, I'd like to see something like that for velocity's sake. Okay, but I would try to get him to feel that we want this hip bone to kind of open, like so, open, kind of rotate while the elbow works back instead of, see, his hips are rotating toward the target right away. Okay, and as he's going into his sit, I want to see his hips rotate back. So as the elbow goes back, the hip goes back too. And then while the elbow's coming up, then the hip can start this right here, this rotation toward the target. I hope all that makes sense to you, but that's where I would start.